On Christmas morning, my mom took every gift meant for me and gave them to my step-siblings. Even donated the console my dad bought. She said I embarrassed her. I walked out and now she's completely alone. On Christmas morning, my mom decided to punish me in the harshest way she could think of. She handed every single one of my gifts to my step-siblings, donated the console my dad had bought me, and told me I'd humiliated her. I walked out that day, and now she's the one left by herself. No husband, no stepkids, no custody of me. Hey Reddit, my mom has always treated life like it's some endless contest she has to win. And one Christmas, she finally crossed a line so bad that everything came crashing down. Family, marriage, custody, the whole deal. But before we get to the disaster, let me start from the top. I'm Emily, 15 years old. My parents split when I was 11. It wasn't one of those crazy breakups with cops or people screaming in the yard. But it definitely wasn't peaceful either. My dad, Tom, moved into this tiny apartment on the other side of town, while my mom, Carol, kept the house. It's a split-level place with a half-dead lawn and a crooked mailbox that still leans because some delivery truck clipped it years ago. Mom works at the local library. That's where she met a guy named Dan, well, technically on a dating app, but 2 years later they tied the knot and suddenly him and his kids were living with us. Dan's got a son, Mason, who's 14 and obsessed with basketball. He's always got a ball in hand or one of those team hoodies on, dribbling outside even when his breath fogs in the cold. Then there's his daughter, Lila, who's 12 and practically welded to her phone. She's on TikTok non-stop, setting her phone up against cups or cereal boxes to film dances in the kitchen. At first, it all felt kind of fun, like a sleepover that never ended. But then it just became normal life. My room is the only corner of the house that still feels like mine. The walls are painted bright blue. There are posters of NBA players taped up all crooked. The ceiling fan squeaks like crazy on high speed. And the carpet's got faint stains from spilled Gatorade. There's even a dent in the closet door from the time I tried dunking on a mini hoop and completely missed. Mom keeps saying she wants to neutralize the color scheme, so the house feels more coordinated. But that's the one battle I refuse to lose. She can take a lot of things, but not my room. Day to day, the house is loud and packed, but not totally unbearable. Mason's usually at basketball practice after school, so you'll hear his sneakers squeaking across the tile, or the thump of a basketball in the garage no matter the weather. Lila camps out in the kitchen like she's filming a movie. Ring light glowing, music blasting the same 10 seconds of a song over and over until her video looks perfect. Dan works construction and he's always exhausted when he gets home, drops his boots by the door, then somehow manages to scatter his socks literally everywhere else. Couch, hallway, even under the dining table once. I don't comment, it's not my mess. Me, I keep to myself. I've got this wobbly old desk squeezed between my bed and the window where I do homework. And at night I play games online with friends, headset on, door shut tight to block out the chaos. Lately, Mom's been obsessed with this whole family unity thing. Matching pajamas for Christmas, board game nights with cheap prizes, family photos where everyone has to line up by height. She doesn't really ask if we want to, she just announces it. Smiles for the camera but glares if someone's off script. It's not about fun. It's about the picture, the post, the image of us as one big happy family. I usually just play along because arguing over pajamas feels pointless. Still, it's weird holding a mug of cocoa you don't even want, pretending to laugh for a photo that'll probably end up as her new Facebook cover. My dad's the opposite. I see him on weekends, he drives up in his dented Honda, takes me to the open gym, maybe breakfast at the diner, sometimes the batting cages even though neither of us knows what we're doing. He's easy to be around, talks like a normal person, doesn't perform for anyone. He just asks how school's going, if I need new sneakers, if I'm hungry. Simple stuff. But it feels real. I'm not some perfect teenager or anything. My grades are solid but not amazing. I do my chores, take out the trash on Tuesdays, mow in the summer, shovel in the winter. I mostly stick to my room, hang with dad or friends, and avoid drama. Mason and Lila are fine. We're polite but not exactly close. Mason talks about basketball constantly but not in a bad way. He'll nod when he passes my door, sometimes asks if I caught a game. Lila doesn't talk much except to complain that someone's in her filming space. If you're in the kitchen when she's shooting, she acts like you've ruined a major production. Dan tries to be nice in that goofy stepdad way, calls me kiddo, even though I'm practically half his height, but he never steps in when Mom gets bossy about family time. He just lets her run the show. That was life before Christmas, before the dinner, the comment, the gifts, before it all went sideways. Christmas Eve started early. By noon, Mom was in full party planner mode. Cinnamon candles burning in every room, holiday playlists cycling through the same 5 songs. The table covered in those red and green paper plates she loves because washing dishes ruins the holiday spirit. She baked a ham, made green bean casserole with the crunchy onions, mashed potatoes so thick the spoon stood straight up, and dinner rolls she brushed with butter to make them look homemade. Dan hauled folding chairs from the basement, Mason dragged in the extra table from the garage, and Lila was still glued to her phone until Mom snapped at her to at least set out napkins. I got stuck on chair duty, making sure people wouldn't trip when the house filled up. I didn't have much of a choice, but I didn't argue either. By 5, the guests started rolling in, Grandma and Grandpa from Mom's side first, bundled up in matching puffy coats, then Dan's parents with a grocery store pie in one of those flimsy plastic containers. Aunt Rachel came with her 2 kids, both younger than Lila, one already sticky from a candy cane before he'd even taken off his boots. Coats got tossed onto the guest's bed like always, shoes lined up by the door, and cold air kept sneaking in every time someone new arrived. The noise level shot up fast. Holiday movies playing on the TV that nobody was actually watching, people talking over each other, kids sprinting up and down the short stairs between the living room and the kitchen. I kept to the sidelines trying to stay out of the way while pretending to help. I took out the trash when the potato peels started overflowing, refilled the soda bottles, and quietly loaded dirty pans into the dishwasher before Mom could notice the sink piling up. Dinner itself went smoothly enough. Dishes got passed around, someone spilled gravy, and Dan somehow managed to bring up Mason's basketball coach at least 5 times like he was the guy's PR agent. Lila scrolled through her phone under the table until Mom caught her and gave that sharp look that said knock it off. I just kept my head down, ate my food, laughed when people told jokes, nothing out of line. Then Mom stood up, holding her glass halfway, that familiar smile plastered on her face like she was about to give a wedding toast. Okay, she said, glancing around the table. Before we wrap up dinner, I just want to say how proud I am of this family. Blended families aren't easy. It takes love and effort to make everyone feel included, and I'm so grateful for the new traditions we've built together. Every year we grow a little closer, and it truly warms my heart. People nodded like they'd rehearsed it. Grandma gave her polite hum. Steve kept grinning that same polished grin he always wore when Mom got like this, friendly but fake like a politician on camera. Across the table, Lila angled her phone toward the tree, snapping a quick picture while Mom was mid-sentence. Mason poked at the last bit of ham on his plate. I leaned back just watching. Same speech as last year. Same matching pajamas waiting in a bag by the couch. Same fake smiles for photos Mom would slap on the fridge later to prove everything was perfect. When she finished with, I just love seeing us come together as one family, I muttered without even looking up. Nothing says family like being told to act like one for the photo. The sound of forks paused for a heartbeat. Aunt Rachel smirked into her glass. Someone at the end of the table let out a quiet laugh. Even Grandma's mouth twitched before she covered it with her napkin. I just tore off the last bit of roll on my plate and popped it in my mouth like nothing had happened. Mom gave this weird little laugh, too high, too tight. Oh, you, she said, waving her hand like it was nothing, but her face slipped for half a second. Then she clapped her hands. All right, pajama time, she chirped, cheerful again, handing out the matching sets like the moment hadn't just happened. After dinner, I helped clear plates, stacking them so the gravy wouldn't drip on the carpet. Mason dried while I washed, and Dan leaned against the counter pretending to scroll through his phone, clearly waiting until the chores were over. Lila filmed some quick clip of the tree and the food, then whipped her camera away the second she caught me looking. People left in waves after dessert, leftovers packed into old butter tubs, kids whining about bedtime, adults digging coats out of the pile on the bed. Total standard holiday exit scene. The whole time Mom smiled, hugged everyone, thanked them for coming, told them to drive safe. But the second the door shut behind the last person, she went silent. Not yelling, just stiff and cold, wiping the counter like it had personally offended her. Mason disappeared into his room, Lila put her earbuds in, and Dan stayed on his phone by the tree until Mom started turning off lights one by one. I went upstairs, shut my door, and figured that was the end of it. I had no clue Christmas morning was about to turn into a full-blown disaster. I woke up to Mom's voice in the hallway. No Merry Christmas. No breakfast smells, just her sharp tone. Emily, get up. Living room. Now. It was barely 7 in the morning. I pulled on a hoodie and went downstairs. The tree was glowing, soft carols playing from the speaker, and a stack of presents sat under the branches, some tagged with my name in Mom's curly handwriting. Mason and Lila were slumped on the couch in their pajamas, still half asleep. Dan leaned against the wall near the TV, arms folded, quiet. He didn't say a single word. Probably didn't want to argue with Mom about something that wasn't even his kid. Stand over there, Mom said, pointing to a spot by the tree. I did. She crossed her arms. You embarrassed me in front of everyone last night. You think that's funny? This morning you're not opening anything. You're giving your presents to your stepbrother and stepsister. I thought she was bluffing. She wasn't. She nodded at the first box with my name on it. I bent down, picked it up, and handed it to Mason. He hesitated, looking unsure if this was real, then slowly took it. The next one went to Lila, then another to Mason. One after another, every single gift. The hoodie I'd wanted, the basketball game I'd been hinting about for weeks, even stuff from relatives I hadn't seen in forever. I handed them off like some kind of assembly line worker. Mason looked more uncomfortable each time I passed him one. Lila kept squirming on the couch, like she wanted to disappear. Mom just stood there with her arms crossed, watching like she was marking things off a checklist. Through the front window, I saw Mrs. Jensen from across the street walking her dog. She slowed down when she spotted us, me handing gifts away while Mom stood nearby. We made eye contact. She didn't wave, just kept walking. I knew by lunchtime half the neighborhood would know. When the last present was gone, Mom finally spoke. Maybe next time you'll think before trying to humiliate me, she said. Mason shifted on the couch and muttered, maybe she should still get one thing. So quietly I almost missed it. Mom snapped her head toward him. Don't start. You two respect me. That's why you get to keep what you got. End of story. Ryan stared at the floor, his jaw tight, the first time I'd ever seen him actually angry at her. The doorbell rang, and when Mom opened it, Dad was standing there holding a red Target bag with the new console inside. He'd clearly bought it yesterday and didn't bother wrapping it. Hey kiddo, he said as he stepped in. Merry Christmas. Mom's face stiffened. What's that? She asked. Something she's been wanting, Dad said, handing it toward me. Mom blocked it with her arm. No, she doesn't deserve it. Dad frowned. What? Mom crossed her arms. She humiliated me yesterday. You don't get to show up twice a month and play hero. Dad's voice stayed calm. It's Christmas, Carol. She fired back instantly. This is my house. My rules. Ryan and Lila froze. Dan didn't move from his spot by the wall. Dad looked at me, then back at her. So you took every gift she had and now this? You serious? Mom folded her arms tighter. Actions have consequences. Ryan shifted, cleared his throat. I can give the game back, he said softly. It doesn't feel right. Mom spun on him. Don't feed the drama, she snapped. It's done. Ryan leaned back, lips pressed into a thin line. Dad pulled out his phone and hit record. Go ahead, he said evenly. Say it again. She glared at him. You heard me, she snapped. You heard me. Dad slid the phone back into his pocket without another word. Mom snatched the console off the table. I'm donating this, she said. Dad took a step forward. Carol, come on. She cut him off sharply. I'm not letting her think she can disrespect me and still get rewarded. She grabbed her keys, walked out, and slammed the door hard behind her. Ryan stared at the floor. This whole thing's messed up, he muttered. Dad looked at me. Get your stuff, he said quietly. I went upstairs and grabbed whatever I could. Clothes, school Chromebook, charger, sneakers, stuffed it all into my backpack. It wasn't careful packing, just fast. When I came back down, Mom still hadn't returned. Lila sat with her knees pulled up, phone in hand, not recording this time. Ryan didn't look at me, just kept his eyes glued to the carpet. Ready? Dad asked. Yeah, I said. We left before Mom came back. At Dad's apartment, he cleared space in the spare room for my things. It was small, plain walls, crooked blinds, but quiet. You hungry? He asked. Not really, I said. He nodded and didn't push. My phone buzzed nonstop. Group chat lighting up, friends texting. Heard what happened, you good? Ryan messaged me. She shouldn't have done that. Then I saw Kay had posted a photo wearing the hoodie that was supposed to be mine. Comments were already rolling in. The next day, my first full one at Dad's place felt weirdly still. The apartment's above a laundromat, so you can hear dryers through the floor. This low hum like distant thunder. Dad brought in groceries, milk, bread, eggs, and asked if I wanted to paint the walls. I said maybe green or gray. He nodded. We'll hit the hardware store next week. Around noon, my phone started going crazy again. Messages from friends, classmates, even people I barely talked to. One text said, "Bruh, you on TikTok?" It was Kay's account. She'd posted a short video of the Christmas tree, and in the background you could hear everything: the handoff, Mom saying, "Hand the next one to Ryan." My quiet, "Okay." Ryan's voice and the front door slamming. No faces, but the sound told the whole story. The caption said, "Christmas vibes." But the comments came fast. Wait, is this Emily's family? That sounded like her mom. I know that voice. Someone even asked straight up, "This at your house?" Kay didn't answer or delete it. She just kept posting like nothing happened. That was enough for people to figure it out. By evening, someone screen recorded it and dropped it on Snapchat. Now the whole school had seen it. Ryan texted again. Didn't know she was recording. My bad. I told him it wasn't his fault. That night, Aunt Rachel called Dad. Grandma was furious after hearing about the presents. Dad didn't mention the console again. Apparently, Mrs. Jensen, the neighbor who saw us through the window, had already told half the street before lunch, and by dinner, it reached Mom's side of the family. Grandma called me herself, said she couldn't believe what Mom had done, told Dad she'd support him if things went legal. Dad's things stayed calm. He didn't talk about Mom unless I brought her up. Mostly he asked about school or if I was hungry. One night he brought home a used bed frame from Craigslist and said we'd pick up a mattress on Saturday. Console can wait, he said. You need a bed first. I didn't argue. It made sense. That weekend, Grandma came over with a lamp for my room and a bag of groceries. While Dad unloaded the car, she leaned close and said quietly, "If this goes to court, I'm telling them everything she did." I nodded, not sure what to say. On Sunday, Ryan called from the garage. I could hear a basketball bouncing. "She's mad at me now," he said. "I told her I felt weird keeping your stuff." "What did she say?" I asked. "Said I was feeding drama." "Whatever. I didn't even keep the game. Still in the box." "Where?" I asked. "My closet," he said. "Didn't even open it." We didn't talk long because Mom came outside and he hung up fast. Monday morning, Mom called Dad. He put it on speaker. "You think you look good letting her run off like that?" she snapped. "Everyone's acting like I abused her." Dad kept calm. "Carol, you took every gift she had and gave away the console in front of her. You don't know what parenting looks like," she spat. "Maybe," Dad said. "But I know what a judge will say when they hear the recording." She went silent for a second, then hung up. That afternoon, Dad showed me the video from his phone. The video Dad had recorded covered the whole console argument. Him trying to hand me the gift, Mom blocking it, telling him I didn't deserve it, and then her storming out. The present handoff part was only on Kay's TikTok. Dad looked at me and said, "I'm keeping this for court." I just nodded. By midweek, he'd called a lawyer. "Not doing this back and forth anymore," he said. "We're filing for custody." I didn't argue. By Monday, Kay's TikTok had made its way from Snapchat to Instagram. Someone posted it with the caption "Christmas canceled" and tagged her. That's when things at school got ugly. At lunch, two guys from the basketball team sat near me and said loud enough for the whole table, "So you really had to give all your stuff to Mason?" I didn't respond. Another kid laughed and said, "Man, I heard she took your console too. That true?" I threw my trash away and walked out. That night, Mason texted me. "People won't shut up about it. Coach even asked if it was true." Then another message popped up. Some kid called me the thief of Christmas during warm-ups. Whole team laughed. I asked what he said back. "Nothing," he wrote. "But this is messed up. I didn't want the stuff anyway." He added, Dan told Mom maybe the kids wouldn't be dealing with this if she just let it go on Christmas. She accused him of taking our side. Around the same time, Kay started turning off comments on her videos. She didn't explain why, but screenshots started spreading in the group chat. People were asking if she still had my hoodie or if she felt bad. One comment said, "You posted the whole thing and kept the gifts?" She never replied. On Wednesday, Mom showed up at school. Not for me, for the principal. I heard later from a teacher that she'd stormed into the office demanding they deal with the harassment because lies were spreading. By the time I got home, 3 people had already texted saying they heard her yelling about fake stories and ungrateful kids. The principal told her they couldn't control off-campus stuff. But the school tightened things up. Hall monitors started stepping in when they heard the video mentioned. My counselor checked in with me and Mason, and teachers got a reminder email about bullying and harassment. Online it was still chaos, but at least the hallways quieted down a little. Mason called me that night from the garage again. Basketball thumping in the background. "She's mad at me too," he said, "because I told her people won't stop asking about it." "What did she say?" I asked. "She said I should ignore it and stop feeding drama. Like it's my fault." He said Dan told her the TikTok mess was embarrassing enough without her making scenes at school, and she told him to mind his own business. The next day, one of my teachers pulled me aside before class. "You doing okay?" he asked. I said, "Yeah." He nodded. "Just checking. My niece goes here. She said she saw some video about your family." Great. Now even teachers knew. Friday night, Dad came home with a sturdier bed frame and a real mattress, replacing the futon setup I'd been using. I didn't argue. Saturday morning, Grandma stopped by again. She handed Dad a folder. "I printed everything before it got deleted," she said. Inside were screenshots from TikTok, Instagram, and group chats where Kay's friends were talking about what happened. We organized everything. Dad's video of the console fight, the screen record of Kay's TikTok showing the gift handoff, and Grandma's printouts of comments and posts. Copies went on Dad's phone, my email, and in Grandma's folder. "Judge should see this," Grandma said. Dad nodded. "Yeah." Sunday night, he told me he'd set a meeting with the lawyer. "Between the video and all this online stuff," he said, tapping the folder, "it's pretty clear what happened." Meanwhile, things at Mom's house were getting worse. Mason said the guys at practice started calling him Grinch Jr., one kid joked. "Better not open your birthday presents around Mason." Coach told them to quit it, but the nickname stuck. Kay started spending weekends at Aunt Rachel's place. Mason said Mom acted like she didn't care, but she kept asking why Kay didn't want to be home. Kay just told her she liked it better there. Mason said she didn't want to deal with the comments or the tension. Couldn't blame her. Monday afternoon, Dad got an email from Mom saying I should come home because things had calmed down. He replied with one line, "We'll let the judge decide." That night, Mason texted me a photo of the video game I was supposed to get. Still sealed in the box, sitting on his desk. "Didn't even open it," he wrote. "Feels wrong." Next day at practice, one of the guys asked if he'd given it back yet. He told them no because Mom wouldn't let him. The kid laughed. "Man, your mom's wild." Mason didn't argue. Wednesday night, Dad showed the lawyer both videos, the screen recording of Kay's TikTok and his phone footage. You could hear everything. Mom telling me to hand over each present, Mason saying it didn't feel right, her snapping at him to stop feeding drama, and finally her shouting at Dad before storming out. The lawyer said, "This helps. Shows it wasn't a moment of anger. It was deliberate." Dad nodded. "Exactly." By the end of the week, he filed the custody paperwork. Later that night, Mason texted me again. "She's furious about court. Slamming doors all night." I didn't respond right away. I was looking at Grandma's folder on the kitchen table, pages of screenshots, timestamps, comments. Everything laid out like evidence. It didn't feel like family drama anymore. But the first custody hearing date came faster than anyone expected, and Dad's lawyer sent a list of what we needed: videos, screenshots, witness statements. Grandma was already printing more, like she was gearing up for trial herself. Ryan texted me the night before the hearing saying she was pacing around the house giving speeches about how Dad was going to lose embarrassingly. I asked what that meant, and he wrote back, She keeps saying judges hate deadbeat dads and she's going to tell them everything about him, like how he owed money years ago. The next morning, the courthouse waiting area felt tense. Mom sat across from us with Steve beside her, arms crossed and looking like he wished he was anywhere else. Ryan and Kay sat on the bench next to them, both staring at the floor. When Mom spotted me sitting with Dad and Grandma, she said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Unbelievable. Dragging children through this just so he can play Disney dad on weekends." Steve tried to calm her down, mumbling, "Linda, maybe just..." But she shook him off and said, "No, I'm not sitting here pretending to be the villain." Dad didn't react. Inside the courtroom, Mom talked fast like she was performing for an audience. She told the judge that Dad barely showed up for years, that I was disrespectful, that she was the only stable parent in the picture. Steve sat beside her, staring down at the table. When Dad's lawyer asked about Christmas, Mom brushed it off. "Oh, please. It was one morning. She embarrassed me in front of family. Actions have consequences." Then the lawyer played the screen recording of Kay's TikTok, the one with Mom directing the gift handoff and the sound of the door slamming. After that came Dad's phone video, the console argument, Mom blocking him, yelling and storming out. The judge raised his eyebrows. This was on Christmas morning? Steve shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Mom crossed her arms and said, "He thinks one sarcastic comment gives him the right to humiliate me. My house, my rules." Grandma shook her head slowly, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Steve stared straight ahead, jaw tight. Mom tried to defend herself again, saying, "They're teenagers. They don't understand parenting decisions. I was teaching respect." The judge leaned forward. "By taking every gift away on Christmas morning?" She hesitated, then said, "Maybe I expect some gratitude in my own house." Steve looked over at her with a frown. That night, Aunt Rachel called Dad and said Mom was blowing up the family group chat, calling everyone traitors for taking my side. When Aunt Rachel told her to calm down, Mom replied, "Easy for you to say when your kid doesn't humiliate you in front of people." Grandma finally left the chat completely. The next week, Mom showed up at my school during lunch, slammed her car door, marched across the courtyard and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "You think living with him is going to be fun? He can't handle you. You'll come crawling back." One of my friends whispered, "What is wrong with her?" as she stormed off. Back at Dad's, the lawyer asked for written statements from Ryan and Kay, and both sent them that same night. Ryan wrote about being teased at practice and how Mom refused to let him return my gifts. Kay wrote about Mom yelling at her for the TikTok instead of caring that she was upset. When Dad told me they'd sent them, I asked Ryan why. He texted back, "Because she won't stop acting like she's the victim. I'm done." At the next hearing, Mom tried to drag up old stuff. Missed birthdays, late payments from years ago, but the judge cut her off. "We're here about current living conditions, not ancient history." When she tried to interrupt, the judge raised his hand. "Enough." Mom sat back, looking like she'd been insulted. Steve rubbed his forehead like he was exhausted. After court, she cornered Ryan and Kay in the parking lot and hissed, "You made me look abusive." Ryan said quietly, "You did that yourself." She pointed at him like he was 5 and snapped, "Watch your mouth." He just walked off. Kay followed him to Steve's truck. Steve told Mom flatly, "You're not helping yourself." She glared at him and said, "Thanks for the support," dripping sarcasm. That night, she sent me long texts about how I was turning everyone against her and letting Dad control the narrative. I didn't reply. By the end of the month, Dad said the lawyer felt confident. Too many witnesses, too much proof, and Mom kept digging herself deeper every time she opened her mouth. I didn't celebrate, but Ryan texted, "If you get out, good for you. I wish we could too." 2 weeks later came the final custody hearing. Mom showed up in another loud outfit, bright green this time, like she was trying to make a statement. Steve followed behind her carrying a stack of papers. Ryan and Kay walked in quietly and sat near Dad and me instead of beside her. That alone said a lot. Inside, Dad's lawyer replayed both videos, the TikTok audio of the gift handoff and Dad's recording of the console fight. The judge asked if there was any dispute about their authenticity. Mom started to talk, but Steve cut in softly, "It's real, Your Honor." Mom whipped her head toward him and hissed, "Whose side are you on?" The judge's voice cut through flat and firm. That's enough. Then came the written statements. Ryan said he felt guilty about keeping my presents, that Mom wouldn't let him return them, and that kids at school teased him so badly he stopped eating lunch with his team. Kay said she turned off her comments because people were making fun of their family, and instead of comfort, Mom yelled at her for causing problems. Mom sat there with her arms folded, expression cold. Grandma testified last. She told the judge that Christmas was supposed to be about love and family, not control, and that she didn't even recognize the way her own daughter behaved anymore. Halfway through, Mom interrupted with a sharp, "Oh please, you've always liked Tom better anyway." The judge warned her that one more outburst would get her removed. During a break, Mom cornered Steve in the hallway and snapped, "You're useless, just sitting there while everyone attacks me." Steve said quietly, "Linda, you're attacking yourself. You don't stop." She glared at him like he'd betrayed her. When the judge returned to announce the decision, Mom straightened up in her seat, eyes fixed forward, as if she was sure she'd already won. "Temporary full custody to the father," the judge said. "Visitation schedule to be determined later. I'm concerned about the emotional environment at the mother's home." Mom shot out of her seat, her voice sharp and shaking. "You're punishing me for parenting. This is ridiculous." The judge didn't respond, just moved on to the next case. Outside the courtroom, Mom turned on Ryan and Kay immediately. "You threw me under the bus in there." Ryan said quietly, "No, we told the truth." Kay stood behind him, arms folded. Steve finally spoke up, his tone tired. "Linda, stop yelling at them in parking lots. You look unhinged." She glared at him. "Oh, so you're done pretending to support me now?" He didn't answer. Just walked Ryan and Kay to the truck. After that day, things at Mom's house cracked fast. Ryan started staying at Aunt Megan's on weekends. Mom called them ungrateful, shouting loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Steve stopped coming home for dinner, started working later, sleeping in the guest room. One night, Ryan texted me. She told Steve he can leave if he doesn't like it. The next day, his basketball bag and Kay's suitcase were in Steve's truck. I saw them the following weekend when Dad took me to Ryan's game. Steve sat with Aunt Megan in the bleachers. Kay waved at me but didn't go near Mom, who stood off to the side, scowling. After the game, Ryan walked right past her toward Steve's truck. Kay followed. Mom yelled, "Fine. Go live with him. See if I care." Nobody looked back. Dad got permanent custody about 6 weeks later. Mom didn't fight much after the temporary order. The judge cited the Christmas incident, school fallout, both recordings, and the kids' statements. Steve moved out officially 2 weeks after the ruling. He left behind the couch, some dishes, and one work jacket hanging by the door. Took everything else, including Ryan and Kay. Aunt Megan told Dad later that Mom called everyone traitors again, then stopped answering texts when nobody took her side. By spring, she was living alone. No Ryan, no Kay, no me. Steve quietly filed for divorce. Mom posted a long Facebook rant about fake family and people poisoning kids against their own mother. Most comments were from cousins telling her to stop airing it online. At school, everything calmed down. Ryan wasn't Grinch Jr. anymore. Kay deleted half her TikToks. I stopped getting questions in the halls. Coach asked once if things were better at home. I said, "Yeah." He nodded and switched to talking about drills. By summer, Dad helped me make the room mine. Painted the walls, put up new shelves, even bought a real desk that didn't wobble. Ryan came over sometimes, Kay too. Steve dropped them off but didn't stay long. Mom never showed up. Last I heard, she was still in that house alone. Neighbors said she stopped going to block parties. Grandma didn't invite her to Easter. Aunt Megan told her flat out, "You did this to yourself." Mom hung up on her. At the first basketball game of the next season, Dad sat with Steve, Ryan, and Kay in the stands. I saw Mom standing near the bleachers by herself. When the game ended, I walked past her on my way to Dad's car. She didn't say anything. That was the last time I saw her. Weeks turned into months, and life started to settle into something new. The hum of the laundromat below Dad's apartment faded into background noise. My room, once a futon and bare walls, now felt like mine. The green paint I picked. The shelves filled with books and tiny reminders that I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was growing. Ryan and Kay came over more. At first, they were quiet, unsure if they were allowed to relax. But slowly they did. Ryan talked basketball again, excited, unguarded. Kay showed me new edits she made. Funny videos, nothing heavy. Just normal. Steve and Dad found a rhythm with drop-offs and pickups. Not friends, but civil. It worked. Grandma still called every week, sometimes bringing groceries, sometimes just asking about school. She didn't bring up Mom much anymore, except once when she said, "She made her choices, Emily. You just keep making better ones." School finally quieted down completely. The video that once followed me became old news. New gossip came and went. Ryan's nickname disappeared, replaced by cheers when he hit shots at games. Kay found a new friend group that didn't care about Christmas drama. And me, I started breathing easier, walking hallways without that tight feeling in my chest. Mom never reached out. Not for birthdays, not for holidays. Word was she still lived in that same house, curtains drawn, lights dim. Neighbors said she barely waved anymore. Family stopped asking after Easter, when she snapped at Grandma one last time. And I stopped waiting. I stopped replaying her words, stopped wondering why appearances mattered more to her than people did. Some questions don't need answers. Christmas came again. New house, new tree, new start. Dad asked what I wanted for breakfast. Pancakes, I said. He burned the first batch, laughed, and made more. Ryan and Kay came over later with a pie from Aunt Megan. We sat around in mismatched pajamas, no speeches, no fake smiles, no pictures for Facebook. Just us eating, laughing, being real. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And for the first time, Christmas actually felt like Christmas.